Back in the jungle for another adventure. Mopar adventure and race car one too. It's in here somewhere. Haha, a Charger. Just kidding. This is just my dirt track car. But what I am going to be doing is pow 69 Dodge Charger Daytona race car project. Jump in this thing and see what it'll do.
Ready to rock this, bro?
Oh, hell yeah. Yes. Now, I'm a circle track guy. I've raced circle track. I love vintage NASCAR, not so much modern NASCAR. So one of my all-time favorite race cars was a Daytona. Now, wow, the sun got bright. Now, the street car version, I could take it or leave it, because it really, the only reason that car was made for homologation rules to be able to run in NASCAR. So they had to make 500 Daytona Chargers to be able to compete in NASCAR. Now, that process turned out to be pretty bitchin', because the end result was a badass looking NASCAR. This one, however, here is not an authentic Daytona street car. If it was, my ass would still be turning this into a race car. Do not care. I am over the prestige cars. I like race cars. I want fun. Fun is racing. Let's go take these things racing. But this is the car that we drug out of the North Dakota trees from Roger Nesham's place. If you go back on a previous YouTube video, you'll see that we drug two Chargers. This one and a red 66 Charger. Now is the time that we are actually going to finish this project that someone started like 35, possibly 40 years ago. They stuck the roll cage in it, they stripped it, they gut it, they cut all the interior tin out of it, and then they abandoned it. And then over the years, someone needed the lower part of the window plug, because, you know, they rot out, and that got cut off the car. The doors are just skins. The fenders, they've already been gutted of their headlight assembly for Daytona. But if you look at the interior tin on this car, it really isn't that bad. This roll cage, however, a semi-truck could hit this cage and you would be safe inside of it, because this thing is welded together with like 120 wall tubing. I mean, this is some heavy duty stuff. And I think we're just going to leave it in there, because now this car isn't going to be built for modern day racing. This will probably be more like street legal NASCAR looking Daytona that we can take out to track days and road course or open circle track Friday nights. So this is going to be pretty bitchin'. And this is not the only one. There is in fact trace more of these. There is a black one, that I've got to go to North Dakota and pick up. That was an authentic dirt track 70 Charger. Yeah, someone actually raced that thing. And then there is my other 69 Charger. That someone did the same thing. They went through the process to gut it, strip it, put a cage in it, and then abandon it. And then I found it. But I have already started the stripping process. So what I need to do here is I need to cut away all the bad metal. Now, I'm not restoring this car, so nothing has to be perfect. And in fact, if we ever did take it and actually race it in a Saturday night special, you know, it could get pretty, you know, messed up. I almost caught myself saying the F word there. But so I need to cut this, I need to pull the rear valence off, replace the rear frame rail or the rear tie connector that's in the back. I'm going to cut the entire trunk pan out. Yeah, I'm going to cut the entire trunk pan out. I'm going to reinforce the tops of the frame rails with a, probably a 16th thick sheet metal, or yeah, basically 16th inch sheet metal. And the reason for that is to get rid of the sheet metal on top, replace that with thicker gauge, and then I can run my down posts. Now I can run or tubing to come over to my shackle adjuster. I got to weld in the inner wheelhouses. I got to cut off what's bad on the quarter panels and make new lower quarter panel sections. I've got to add the Daytona window plug, which actually we're going to use a Vega hatch. So that right there is off of a mid to early 70s Vega hatch, and we're going to weld that in place. That will give us the Daytona look, and the reason we're doing that is I've already got the glass and I've already got the trim to make it work. So yeah, you can buy the plugs, but we've already got like 4 of those, so we're going to use them. Got to cut the doors off, cut the fenders off, cut the inner wheel wells out, cut the core support out, and then there's going to be a whole lot of filling in the hackery, because this roll cage is actually the cage out of another B-body circle track car that got destroyed back in the 70s. And so what they did, they cut the roof off, cut the cage out, cut this roof off, dropped this cage in, and then they ran legs over to the subframe connectors that they added. And there is a, I mean, like, this is a pretty crude cage, but you know what? It looks the part. It looks period correct. So there's a lot of sheet metal and cutting that's going to happen on this car, and you will get to see some of that, and the fun part will be the reassembly. So I'm gonna go ahead and start stripping this sucker. You guys will get to see some of the teardown, and then you get to see the assembly. Just making my list here of the things I want to do, so I'm not having to think all the time. I can just cross off. For instance, cut out shock tower. We're going to be cutting, since the trunk pan's going to be cut out, we're going to cut out the entire original shock tower, because that's just flimsy sheet metal, and we're going to make a raised tubular one, so that way the replacement shocks will go actually through the tin with like a shock, what do you call it, shock boot, or no, a shifter boot that goes up to the mounting location. That's how like the original NASCAR Daytonas were. They actually had 4 rear shocks, and there were shock boots that went up to the mounting locations through the tin. So lots of custom fab gonna happen, but also a lot of cutting out. This is gonna be a lot of work. sitting hole. Alright, the objective of all this carnage here is we're going to cut the entire trunk pan out so that way I can plate the tops of the frame rails to make them more rigid, more boxy. And then I'm going to run new down tubes that are not made out of 120 wall solid watertight. We're going to leave the main structure cage because I don't know, it's already there and it kind of period corrected its ugliness. But we're going to box in the rear clip better, and we're going to box in the front clip, add new tubes to it. But we're going to get rid of all of this so then we can make it Daytona awesomeness. It is officially ready to go to blasting. So I have mocked up the ass end of the car with a jig that's actually bolted to the frame rails. And then we got one bolt holding the quarter panel up here. So the only thing holding the rear body to this chassis right now is 1/4 inch bolt here. Bolts under the bottom of the frame rail that holds that jig assembly, and one more bolt over there. The only reason I did that is just so when I go to put the car back together, the skins, I have somewhere to start from. So the roof starts here, and then I have an end point in the back. It's basically I just make everything match in the middle. We have also skinned the inside of the roof structure, and everything has been gutted, skinned, cut off this car that I don't need to be there. The outer wheelhouses, trunk pan, roof structure, seat braces, the inner fenders, the core support, pretty much everything on the ass end of this car except for outer skins. Because I'm gonna make all new panels that will be crush panels. They will be 22 gauge sheet metal designed to just, if something bumps, bangs, rubs into me, they just crush and you replace them real easy. Just like the NASCARs. Actually, the original Daytona NASCARs, they actually used a lot of original rear sheet metal. Like from here back on a NASCAR Daytona, a real NASCAR Daytona, not the street car Daytona, but the NASCAR Daytona, from here back was like mostly original. Yeah, they cut a big ass hole in the trunk pan for the fuel cell, but other than that, it was like stock. So like, if you got rear-ended or you backed into the fence, the ass end of that car is gonna crush all the way up to the cage, because the cage actually stopped like right here. So it didn't go any farther back. This is just a temporary bar tack welded in place to hold the frame rails, but yeah, my cage that I'm gonna finish, well, this cage is actually from 1970, but it's 120 wall tubing. It ain't going nowhere. So I'm just gonna finish the down tubes here with a couple of risers. Then I'll have the shock tower bar that goes up and over, and then the down tubes will connect to that. And then I'll have plates that the rear bumper will mount to, and then I'll have my leaf spring slider adjustable mounts that's off of the cage. So this is the part of the car to get to that sucked. After it comes back from blasting, it's all just assembly and fab work. That's the fun part. No more rusty crusty 70 Charger. When it comes back, it'll be poof, shiny metal clean Charger that I'm going to epoxy red, because this car is going to look like Bobby Isaac's Daytona. Off to blasting. Whoops. Yeah, that flew out of the back of the truck and got runned over by highway traffic. It has now become patch pieces that I've got to cut out to fix in all these areas that they torched out of the body for this prehistoric cage. But check this out. This one bar here, one bar. Oh. This is 32 inches. It weighs 8 pounds. This cage is freaking heavy. Hey, California, look out. Probably just caused an earthquake over there. plugging away. Got the rear of the body off so that way I can start making the cap for the top of the frame rails. I want to box that all in so that way the new roll bars, the shock tower, and everything, sheet metal, fuel cell, I can start to go ahead and finish that area. Right now, this cage was really crudely cut in here. I mean, they just hacked away with a torch and basically dropped this dinosaur water pipe roll cage in here. So I've been making filler pieces. Bah! So you can tell it's just weld on top of weld on top of welds. So at least we can hide all that and somewhat tie the cage to the floor pan. Maybe make it a little bit more structure with just a little bit of filler pieces here and there. I had to patch in a floor piece over there, and that was just a quick little patch. I mean, we're not restoring this car like an OEM, so it's a race car. Patch it. More patches over there. I finish those patches over there. Cut this bar out, which I need to finish cutting all and grinding all the weld away. I got to cut this bar out. I just welded this bar in here so that way when I take it to blasting, it's not just the rear frame rails dangling. So cut that out, plate it, shock tower, fuel cell, finish all this, run my hoop bars to the front. Sounds easy. Guarantee it'll take a hell of a lot longer than what I just said. All right, I made an adjustable wedge leaf spring slider. So that way I can adjust my cross weights, put some wedge in it, whatever, but watch. You'll see it rising here, which when this is mounted to the car, it will drop the leaf spring, putting more wedge on that tire. This thing has already come really far from what it was when it first rolled in here. I mean, look at this thing. You wouldn't even know it was the same car, except for it still has that dinosaur roll cage in the center of it. Yep. We didn't cut the center of the cage out from, well, the center of the cage from firewall to here, plus this bar and this bar. Didn't cut those out because the car wasn't really going to be raced again, and my buddy that's going to drive it, he's like, well, I don't really want to put in the extra money to make a new roll cage when it already has one. You know, it's more for show and take it out for track days and have fun with it. And then I'm like, well, dude, just let me cut it out and make a new one. He's like, no, don't worry about it. So we took it down to get it blasted, and the blasting bill was like $1,200 or $1,300 more because it had that cage in it. All the extra work and media it took to sandblast that cage. So for that $1,200, $1,300, I told my buddy, you're a dumbass, because I could have made a cage way lighter and better. But on the other side of that coin, the guy that we got this car from, that's his roll cage. So we plan on taking this car back to him to show him what we have done with this car. We didn't flip it. We didn't part it out. We're rebuilding it. And this guy, Roger Nesham, still has a bunch of really cool, authentic NASCAR parts. So we're kind of hoping maybe when he sees what we've done to this thing, he'll, like, you know, let loose some authentic NASCAR parts. Like a NASCAR Hemi air cleaner, the intake manifold, carburetor. I mean, just whatever parts we can get off of them. And so that's kind of our goal. Maybe we can kind of smooch some goody parts out by showing the guy where we're restoring this car. We'll start in the front. All right. So from when it first rolled in, all the sheet metal was cut off the front. I added this bar, everything's gusseted up, added this bar, added this, added that, and then cut out all the sheet metal. Now, I replaced this bar because, well, it was 120 wall, and most of it takes some weight out too. I added these two bars here. Those go down to the front clip. I had to patch in all the floor pan because this cage was actually in a 67 Belvedere race car, and when that car got destroyed, they cut the cage out, cut the roof off this car, and dropped this cage into this body. And they got as far as torching out the floor pan, torching out the rockers, dropping the cage in, getting it welded up, and then for some reason they stopped. Maybe he just decided, hey, I'm done racing. Oh, he probably stopped because that's about the time he actually went ARCA racing. So, and this wasn't legal in ARCA no more, so he had to have a Magnum body. So he ditched this and went to the Magnum body. I'm betting is what had happened. And so yeah, I had to patch in all the floor areas where they had cut it out. Same thing on both sides. That'll all get seam sealed and everything. Okay, I added this bar here, which this is the new shock tower that I made. This is going to get cut open, and it'll have like a shock or a shifter boot here where the shock will come up through the trunk pan and attach to here, just like the original Cup cars. I made this trunk divider. I'm actually pretty proud of that. I'm like a rookie bead roller, and so I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna try and make a freaking Pentastar. So that's the beginnings of the Firewall trunk divider. Because when you have a fuel cell in a car, you have to have a steel divider to keep the flame from going whoosh and burning off your mullet. So, and then I made all new trunk pan. So I made all of this out of 22 gauge sheet metal, so it's lighter, easier to work with, and you know, this thing's not going to be hauling toolboxes or, you know, engine blocks or tires or anything no more, so it can be thinner gauge. Plus thinner is lighter. And then I made the cage for the fuel cell. So like I said, it all looks really good under there. Looks like professional racing car almost. These doohickeys here, I actually made these. I designed those. The what it is I can put a ratchet here, turn this, and that will raise or lower my leaf spring slider up to 4 inches. So granted, you don't need to go 4 inches down, but that adjusts wedge and puts more weight on whichever tire I drop this down on. Plus, when I made these, I made it to where this is sucked up into the body. So this is already like 1.5 inches higher than, actually, you know what, that's probably about a good 2 inches. Yeah, this is probably about 2 inches higher than it would have been stock. And then we're gonna flip the front leaf spring hangers. Yep. Okay. I skinned the roof, because this roof did used to have all the inner structure to it. So I skinned and cut all that out so it's lighter. And then I cut the old quarters off because I have quarter skins that we're going to put on here. So I need to finish that, but while I'm doing the rear window plug, it'd be a lot easier for me to leave the quarters off, just in case I need to get in here and maneuver around. And I made it to where my trunk pan right now can still be removable, so that way I can finish the plug, or if I need to get in there like the centerpiece, I can pull that out. And then this guy here, when I get the quarter back on, this will all be sheet metal straight across, just like the Cup cars. They consider this a crush panel, so this will be a crush panel in case it gets whacked. Then we can just replace the quarter and replace the outer wheelhouse, because it'll just be 22 gauge. Lighter is better. Let's see, what else have I done to this thing? A lot of it is just metal work, you know, adding weld, grinding. Oh, I took out 2 bars. Okay, yeah, there was a bar that went from here to here. I removed that bar just so we can fit a passenger seat in this thing. And I removed another bar. I just can't remember what it was. It wasn't significant, but it didn't need to be there. All right. See, I'm at the point now where I can start putting suspension on this thing and getting it on the ground. So I got the K-frame on my rack. I need to paint that today, get that bolted in here. I'm gonna order some new leaf springs for this thing, some Circle Track leaf springs, but this is gonna be a road race car, so it's gonna be even 150s on both sides. And then basically I need the axle in the car so I know where to put my shock mount. I need to know how high is high, how high is low, or how low is low. I might actually make a clamp-on shock mount, so that way, you know, if we want to try different shocks, or if we want to move it around or whatever, it'll just be a clamp-on. A lot of Circle Track stuff has that. But it's coming along really good. I got the Vega rear plug right here. I'm gonna start working on this today. Yeah, you know, some of the purist buddies of mine are like, oh, you need to get a Daytona rear plug, a real one. It's like, screw you guys. That's like $10,000. That was $50 at the junkyard. And as it's going vroom by you, you will not know the difference. And most people won't even know the difference 10 feet away from it. So, yeah, Vega hatch it is. And I'm kind of feeling a little guilty about this. I might change my mind. So these are real 70 fenders, and they're actually pretty nice. It's got a bullet hole in it and a couple little tiny dents, but 70 fenders are not that easy to come by anymore, or ever were. So I don't know, because I have to radius the wheel openings on those fenders for the big NASCAR tires and flare them out and everything, and I don't know. I might just try and make some fenders instead of using those. And you guys that are 70 Charger guys, you'll know that that's kind of like a, I can't believe he's doing that. I still have to add a few more bars, but I didn't do that till the engine and radiator are in it. So I need to make a crossover bar that'll be a bolt-on deal, but I didn't want to do that until the engine is in it, because I need to know how high I can go up and down. And then the radiator, you know, I need to make a bar for that, but I got to get a radiator for it. So lots of work. Just trying to give you an update of where it's at now versus the hunk of crap we pulled out of the tree row last year. So it's pretty sweet. I'm digging it. I can't wait to get started on the other one that I will be driving. This is going to be the Bobby Isaac K&K Daytona. Mine is going to be the Jack McCoy. Just because it has the same paint scheme as my uncle's wrecking yard, like plum crazy purple and pearl white with like gold. So that one's gonna be mine. Time to get to work. Alright, so part of the problem with installing this Vega plug in this thing, someone over the years, probably Roger, had torched out the rear window area of this car. So I need to make a straight line, and you can see it's not, it would be great if this went all the way down, like if this was never cut out, but no, I gotta do it the difficult way. I'm gonna have to set the Vega plug in place, tack it in place in a few areas. This is the lower window channel. I believe this is out of like a 71 third gen Charger, or it might even be a Challenger, but I think it's a third gen Charger, which I guess has the correct radius on the lip, from what I was told. I got this years ago, as you can tell from all the patina on it, because I was going to build one. And I have never worked on a real Daytona. I have never worked on a real NASCAR Daytona. So I have no idea the dimensions. I have to Google everything and examine pictures and stuff. So I don't have, like, if it's just a regular Charger, I have an abundance of those that I can just, you know, take measurements off of. But yeah, no. Google tells me that from here, well, from here to here for this guy is supposed to be 21 3/4 with the trunk gap set in place. It's basically kind of set stuff in place, cut to fit, tack weld, and go from there. So it'll be slow pace progress on this, because it's kind of hodgepodge patching. Gotta make patch panels, fill areas that have been torched out, cut out, and then once I get that whole thing done, then I can finish my trunk divider. Can still hear all the thunders a little bit. You can hear them in the distant background. But patina here, man, I need to hurry up and put the motor back together for this thing. It's almost all the way back together. I just need to put the intake on it and the accessories, and patina's heartbeat can be thriving again. On the other hand, the NASCAR, haven't touched it in 2 days because weather's been crappy. Like, It's calm right now. This is the calmest it's been all day. And of course, it's like towards the end of the day. K-frame got left out in the rain, so that got flash rusted. Not a big deal. I can wire wheel that and epoxy that tomorrow. That's going to go black. But the car itself is that it's really starting to come together and like resemble a NASCAR Daytona. Because look, we got a rear plug. This is actually a Vega plug. We bought 4 of these out of a wrecking yard in Turlock, California. And we asked them, how much is a deck lid for a Chevy Vega? And they were like, $50 a piece. We'll take all 4. So we got 4 of them, and it'll work just fine. So I'm kind of mocking it up in place right now. I kind of have left off 2 days ago. All the tools are still in the same place. It's all getting dirty and windy, and all the dirt is in here, and just I gotta clean this thing up again. But I gotta shrink that. That's a high spot in the Vega plug, so I'll put that in my shrinker, shrink that. I actually have the 74 or 71, 74 Charger rear window filler panel underneath. Man, you hear that? Man, that is. Oh wait, that might be a plane. No, actually, that's thunder. But oh, check out my rear seat divider. So actually, it's not a rear seat divider. It's actually technically a rear firewall, because when you have a fuel cell in a car, as we do, because race car, you need something to prevent fire from going forward in case of a crash. So I needed to get the rear body on it before I could actually start making the rest of the firewall back here. I needed to get the hatch on it before I can finish the firewall, because that's going to go up. Of course, that's here. It's going to go over to here, and then the wheel wells will get filled in. So I got to cut that shorter, and the back window in this thing had been torched out before, so of course it's wider than it should be. So I got to make filler pieces and trim and fit. There's so much. Told you. So much trimming and fitting I still got to do to this thing, but it is coming out amazing. I like it. I like it a lot. Can't wait to see this sucker with a Daytona rear wing on it, NASCAR Goodyear tires on it, quarter panels on it that are flared out, on the ground, slammed to the weeds. Oh, this thing is gonna be freaking cool. Front clip, the cage work in the front is not done yet. I just need to get the drivetrain in before I can make more bars. So we're planning on putting a NASCAR Hemi in this thing, so I have to go up, over, but I have to clear the engine. And I gotta see how low is low for the radiator so I can make my other hoop bar. So there's still lots of work to do to this thing, but it's just so cool to just see it how it is now. It's you know, when you just do these things step by step, day by day, before you know it, you have something like this. This is amazing. I love it. I can't wait to get on the other ones. Unfortunately though, this is where I'm gonna have to leave this episode off. It's getting too long probably, so this will be part 1 of the NASCAR Daytona build, the Bobby Isaac clone car. What I think, after building this car, I really want to just build nothing but these and like sell them. Just build Daytonas and Superbirds and Talladega NASCARs, or Super B, because ARCA car there was Super Bs, or ARCA series there was Super Bs and Roadrunners and stuff too. So I think it'd be really cool to start with a real car, but it doesn't even have to be a Charger to do this. Really all I need is just a 2-door platform, or even a 4-door platform. And when you're building a race car, are you really going to care that it doesn't have a Charger VIN tag on it, but it looks like a Charger? So, I don't know, just spewing that out there. I think I really want to just build these for a living. I think it'd be fun. Anyways, I got to get back inside. I got to finish editing this video so I can start back on it. I'm going racing this weekend. Not my modified, which I just got all repaired from Paris, but a buddy's modified. He hit me up, asked me if I wanted to come race it, and I'm like, yeah. Mine's kind of got a hurt motor in it. Alrighty, guys. So I can't always keep forgetting to do this, but if you really like this kind of stuff, be sure to like and subscribe. I like thunder. But I gotta get going inside. There's a lot of metal around me. I'll see you guys later. No, 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 no. Oh, dang it. Seriously, dude, stop. I want to get to building some cool shit already. Ugh. Whole backyard is a freaking lake. I need a shot. Ugh.